All right, so I wanted to have some fun today with some new features. Well, not new features in the ArcGIS JavaScript API, but there was some added capabilities to it. So if you look at what the release notes look like for the latest release of the API, down here, layer effects, right? So we've had layer effects in the API for a while, but now they can be applied to all layers in 2D views, and there's three new effects that have been added, which I'm pretty excited for, which is a blur, drop shadow, and bloom. And I haven't really used bloom. That one seems kind of fun. But the blur and drop shadow I'm excited about because I've been wanting that since we added the effects, and I've been kind of hounding the guys making it and stuff. I'm like, oh come on, man, blur would be so cool. If I can add drop shadow, everything would be amazing. And they got it in there, and it really is pretty cool. There's a couple samples in here, but I want to look at. So, okay, if you're not familiar with the effects, they're basically the CSS type effects that you can apply to images and stuff that you can apply to your map data, which is really cool. I need to find some data to play with. So typically, if I'm looking for something interesting or some data, I go into my ArcGIS Online account, and I usually go to Living Atlas. I mean, I've got some data in here, but my stuff isn't that cool. I want cool data, right? So if you go to Living Atlas, you can go and search by a bunch of different categories and stuff. And I'm just going to look for layers and feature layers. And I believe when it's sorted like this, it's just based on the edit date. So you'll get the most recently updated data sets in that order. But I kind of like this map here. This map seems to me like it would lend itself kind of well to what I wanted to play with. So it's got some unemployment information, right? So Bureau of Labor Statistics monthly unemployment data for the last 14 months. So what I want to do is I want to find the layers. So this one has three layers. It has a country level, state level, and county level. So let's check out the county level one. And this is what I'm looking for right here. It's got a URL that I can use. So let me go ahead and get started playing around with some stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and make this base map dark gray with an A. I always spell that wrong. Yeah, okay, I got that right. Let me use the dark gray named vector base map in here. Let's bring in the feature layer, new feature layer, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a URL, which will be the URL that I copied. Okay, so that's the URL that I copied right there. And we're going to go ahead and add that to my map. And there's a layers array here. Technically a collection, but it's array like. It has all the same behaviors. It's iterable. That's all you gotta know, right? Because I want what I want to do is I want to basically have a little slider down here that I can move back and forth to adjust what I want to do my filters on, right? So no, not layers. Widgets, slider. Okay, so const slider is going to be equal to new slider. And what am I going to give to the slider? There's some things I need to provide. So I need to provide the container where the slider is going to live. And I have an ID of slider down here somewhere, right? So if I look at the HTML for this right here, this div has an ID slider. So I can just tell the slider widget to look for that ID, and it'll automatically pull that in. Min 0. And let's say the max value on the slider is 25. So hopefully there's no counties with greater than 25% unemployment. That would really suck. Values. Let's start it at 0. Basically, I'll show you how this kind of works right now. Basically, I can have, so I got this thumb here. I can drag along the slider. And if I wanted another thumb that I could drag along the slider, I can add another value here. And now I've got two thumbs that I can drag along the sliders, and I can do something like unemployment is between, I don't know what, between 10 and 15%. Right? That's kind of stuff you could do. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and have one thumb that I can deal with, or else I'll probably jack something up, if I'm being honest with you. Steps. So how do I want to increment this? In half. Yeah, 0.5 increments. So the data to draw all of this is already in the map. And I believe to get this visualization, the field I need should be in there. So if we look at this, let's go to data. There's a lot of fields here. Let's go to fields. And what's cool is that there's metadata for all these fields, right? So count of people, this is 9 months prior. I'm looking for the most current month. So count of employed population in the most current month, but I don't want the count. I want the percent unemployed, I believe it is. But more count of unemployed. Count. Here we go. Percent unemployed the most current month. Basically, when they say most current month, they're actually talking about the past 4 weeks, right? So it's not like if I'm in the middle of the month, I'm only going to have 2 weeks of data. This should be the last 4 weeks of data. So this is the field name on that I'm interested in using. So let's go ahead and make a note here. What did I do? Okay, there we go. I just want to keep that as a note of the field I'm interested in using my filter on. So now what I want to do, I want this layer view because the data is already available to me. I shouldn't have to go back to the server to get the data. So let's do that. But in order to do it properly, I need a little helper module here from Esri Core Watch Utils, which is how you can watch for property changes to happen, classes and stuff, instances from the JavaScript API. And from watch utils, I really only care about using the when false once helper. Basically, this is going to say, and you'll see how I use it right now. Instead of trying to explain it to you, let me go ahead and do it. So I'm going to say view dot when layer view, pass it to layer dot then, right? And it's going to make this an async function so I can do some stuff in here. Layer view is what I'm going to get back. So this basically says that when I have gotten the layer and it's passed, it's added to the map and passed to the view is in charge of loading the map and then loading any layers that are part of the map and preparing layer views for the layers so that I can draw all the data in the map. It trickles down to these layer views that are responsible for the display of the data. So now that I've got my layer view, really what I want to do is I want to wait for the right here. I need to wait for the layer view to finish loading, right? Because they could still be doing some work under the hood that I'm not aware about at this point in the application. And there's a property on the layer view that you can check called updating. I want to wait for the layer to finish pulling in any data it needs, drawing the data, so I know it's ready. And when this updating property becomes false at this point, it should then be done. It's no longer updating. But this when false once will return a promise when it happens because it only fires once. So it might as well be a promise. And there we go. So now I can wait for that to be done. Now if that's done, I can start using the layer view for something. Slider on. And let's say, I think I have to pass. No, let's try this. I think I can just do it like this. Thumb drag. Right? And this should return an event. Well, let's do this. That event will have the value. That'll have the current value of wherever I'm dragging my thumb here. Yeah. So that's all I can do. If you want to list some more events, you can pass an array of the different events you want to listen to here, but I'm only interested in the thumb drag. You know, I've got this little, let me do this real quick. So I've got this little percent label in here, and as I adjust this, nothing is happening. So what I want to do is real quickly just grab that label. What is that label called? Percent unemployment. So let me copy that. Label is equal to document.get element by ID. So now when this value changes, I can say that the label dot inner text is going to be equal to, and let's say value, and then a little percent there, right? Let's see what it looks like. Okay, that looks good. Kind of that little jittery happens. I can move that label. Okay, so it goes down there. I think that might be nicer. Yeah, there we go. That's a little better. Now it doesn't impact this text here. So now that I've got that, I want to say that if that value is greater than 0, right? I want to apply some kind of an effect to my layer view. So it's the layer view that I've got over here. So I can say that layer view dot effect is going to be equal to something. The effect can just be something like this, right? But that's going to apply it to the whole layer and all the data. I want a layer view effect. And the layer view takes this feature filter, which I'll talk about in a second. But basically, I can go ahead and have one effect for everything that matches the filter, and then another effect for everything that does not match the filter, this excluded effect. So the feature filter, and it's got pretty much what I want to do too. I created a new feature filter with a where clause, and that's pretty much all I need in this case. I can also do it with geometry, maybe a point on the map, and then give it a distance in units, and then tell it what the spatial relationship is. Does it contain, cross, there's some other relationships. So not worried about that. I just want to do a where clause, very simple where clause here. So let's do that. Filter object. Filter is going to have a where. In that where, I want to say this field is going to be less than whatever the value is that I am currently using on my slider. And my included effect is going to be, let's just say, because I like the drop shadow. Drop shadow is cool. Drop shadow and 2 pixels. 2 pixels. I think this takes CSS filter. Yeah, it takes 3 values, and then I can change the color too, but I'm not gonna mess with the color. Let's do 2 pixels. There we go. Ooh, that's cool. Look at that. Nice. Okay, so now I want an excluded. Excluded? Yeah, excluded effect. So I can do like opacity, what, 75%. It doesn't really have much impacts here. If there was like some elevation data below this so you could see actual terrain, I think this would have a bit more of an impact than this does now. Yeah, it can't really, it doesn't have much punch. What if I do the blur, right? So I think blur at 5 pixels. What is that going to happen? Oh, it kind of hurts my eyes if I'm being honest. Oh my goodness. That's cool. That is cool though. Ah, but it stays at. See, I don't want, if I'm at 0%, I don't want the blur. So, else layer view dot effect is equal to null. There we go. Save that real quick. So now if I come up over here, cool, back to normal. That's what I want. That's what I want to see. So if I'm at 0, that's null. What other kind of stuff can I play with? Ooh, brightness. Brightness 0.4. I should also mention that the order you pass the effects in, so drop shadow and then brightness and the opacity and then blur, is how they're going to be applied. So I don't know if it really makes a difference what the order that they're applied, but apparently it does because they make a note of that somewhere in the documentation about the order of the way the filters are applied. I'm guessing it's important. Oh, that 0.4 makes it like super dark. That's pretty bleak, man. I don't know. 150? Oh, it's like white. Okay, I'm not digging this brightness thing here. You rotate. I think it does to the Firefox logo here. So, and let's apply that. Not digging the brightness, man. Oh, there's a little transition there between the difference. And it could be the order I'm doing things there. But what's cool is that it does have that nice transition between the effects, which is kind of cool. I dig that. Okay, so I'm not digging the hue rotate. Uh, I'm not digging the opacity either. So I am really digging the drop shadow though. Let me see what else. there is to play with. Ooh, saturate. What's saturate gonna do? Let's try that. Oh, I should mention it does not support URL filter, which I don't know what it would do. Not sure, but I never used URL filter before. Not even for like regular apps. But try this saturate. Saturate 30%. Does that mean it's less saturated? Yeah, see, it makes it like a grayscale. That's like almost doing grayscale. All right, so if I say 130%, let's see what happens. At this point, I'm just goofing around. Oh, that's kind of cool. I kind of dig that. Look at that. What if I do 50 pixels for a blur? What's going to happen? Oh. Huh. You know what? To be honest with you, I mean, if I said I like this, trust me, nobody would be surprised. I think the 5 pixels is good enough. Although I could see that being a cool effect. So what about bloom? I mentioned bloom is in here. I don't know what bloom takes. I don't know what the values to pass to bloom. Oh, that kind of made it brighter, didn't it? Does it look like it's brighter to you? Oh, my eyes. My goodness. Okay. So I guess bloom takes a percent. I don't know. Oh my gosh. Okay. No. Let's do a blur here. And let's do a bloom of let's just go for a very light 10%. I want to see what happens if I do a 10% bloom. And you know what? Let me do. Okay, so I think let's try this. Let me try. Oh. Ooh. Oh, that's a little too bright. Okay, let's knock that down to 20%. That's really cool though. Man, imagine a bunch of points in the map full of bloom, all bloomed up. Oh. But oh, look at it. There's like a little halo effect around this bloomed polygons stuff. I don't know if bloom is really meant to be used for polygons. I could see it being of value in some places, but I think it really would shine with a lot of point data, which is kind of cool. But there you go. I just want to play around with these CSS filters and the updates to the effects with the blur, bloom, and drop shadow being added to the effects and using them for the included and the excluded, which I think is really cool. Um, I say you just play around with it and have some fun. So your apps can be a little bit more visually popping, right? And you combine this with some of the smart mapping capabilities in the API so that you get some really nice color matching between the your base map and whatever colors you want to use for displaying your data on the map. You can get all that stuff pretty cool. But this is kind of nice. I like playing around with this. I'm gonna play with this more in the future. And that blur is like a little, yeah, that kind of hurts my eyes. All right, let's try 7 pixels real quick. But go out, have some fun with this. It's a blast just to play with. You know, I like having fun when I can. The drop shadow is really cool, man. I dig that. But I'm sure you'll be seeing more samples out there of JavaScript API using these effects and everything because they're so much fun. They look cool, right? That's come on, you're making maps. Maps are like another version of charts. You want them to look cool. So have some fun and make some cool stuff.